Dinner Conversations is brought to you by Child Fund, a community development organization that has been envisioning a world where every child is free to live at their fullest potential, no matter where they're from or what challenges they face since 1938.
Partner with us and our good friends at Child Fund to change the world and the life of a child by considering sponsoring a child today.
It really does take so little to make a difference.
Visit childfund.org/dinner conversations.
A child is waiting. Well, today's conversation is interesting. It's about siblings, the love and the rivalry, being a preacher's kid, that extra added pressure of, you know, you're not just a kid, you're my kid, you represent me, the pastor.
Right.
It's Michael Tait and Lynda Randle.
Oh, that's right, because that's her maiden name.
Yeah, because they're siblings.
And some people still don't even know they're siblings.
Yeah.
We were talking today with Shelley Breen where we filmed this, and she was like, Lynda Randle is Michael Tait. Of course, I think they look the same with different hair.
They do. They do. And you're going to love this talk. There's one seat left at the table, and it's yours, so let's join the conversation.
First question a lot of people have, well, they don't even know your brother and sister. Like look at y'all even look at each other. I know.
Who knew?
We're in, David and Shelley Breen's house, and Shelley was like, wait a second. And Shelley was like, and I was like, now have you ever looked at him real close?
That's funny. People are still discovering.
When I was a kid, I didn't understand how a boy and a girl could look alike and not be each other. I'm like, Mom said, honey, you can look like your sister, but you're still a boy. I said, thanks, Mom.
Now, who's the oldest?
To tell the truth? No, I am. 4 years.
Oh, 4 years?
Yeah.
So, like twins.
Yeah, like twins.
I should know that.
Yeah, you should, Mark.
You know what?
All people should know that.
Because we went to,
you were ahead of me at Liberty.
Many years. How many years? I graduated in 80.
And I was there 85.
Okay,
85.
so you're 5.
I came in 84.
Yeah. So
wow. Liberty. Oh, because you were Liberty too. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when DC talked.
Yes. We're fundamentalists. No, that was good. No,
how did y'all end up there?
Well, you know what? Jerry Falwell came to our church in Washington, D.C., Kansas City, Missouri. Washington, D.C., we had a bus ministry at the time. We had the fastest growing bus ministry in the country. We had 500 kids on bus ministry in our Sunday schools. So they said, you remember Lynn Sandy? Do you remember the guy, Lynn? He used to do in Liberty University. Well, he had Dr. Falwell come in and he spoke at our church. I remember he came, he didn't have security, anything. He just came to our little humble church. And then he said, when you're ready for school, I'll give you a scholarship.
Jerry, we love you.
And that was pretty much.
And I came to your church too.
Yeah, I know, Mark.
I remember
my parents loved you.
Their daddy's church. Listen to me. I was a student at Liberty. Yes. I walked in. And do y'all remember what they were hollering at me from the street?
No, I don't remember.
Somebody called me a cracker.
No, they did. Oh, Mark.
Remember?
No, he said you don't. Well,
no. But the church was precious.
Yeah. The African American church?
Well, all so much. But, I shouldn't say it. Well, you can cut stuff out.
Yeah.
But we were taught to love people no matter what. But there was one white family in our neighborhood. I remember Patrick, I don't remember his last name, and I got upset with him once, and I called him a white cracker.
Lynda Randle.
I did. And I got a whipping.
Did you?
It's when they used to whip kids back then. And
you know what James says about the tongue? James 1, right?
What's it say?
Unruly evil.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm gonna say it was unruly, but I just kind of got vexed in my spirit, and I didn't know what else to say. But I heard somebody say, "White cracker." Well, you don't say that, but I didn't know that.
I've never been called that. I love crackers. I love it with peanut butter.
Me too.
Okay,
you are sticky, son of a gun.
So, have y'all always been very close?
I think best friends forever. Okay, so here's the story I told Mike just recently.
Here and there.
And he didn't know, but when my mother went to give birth to him.
Oh goodness, not this time.
I was standing on the front porch of our humble home there in DC, and I saw my mom go out like this, And she got my dad drove a cab, got in the cab and went off to the hospital. And a few days later, she comes back with this little bundle. I was 4, don't forget.
Yeah,
right.
And it was this kid.
Yeah.
And I remember just being in awe of that moment. Like, you know, I don't remember any other deliveries in
Such a beautiful brown boy.
No, I didn't. That's not what I thought. He's got a big head.
What the hell?
So anyways, no.
Born this day.
Yeah, born this day.
That's not what I thought.
Messianic.
But no, so from day one, I think, I always, felt like I was a big sister and stuff. So yeah, you have sibling stuff that goes on because we're human. But yeah, but.
Was there anybody between y'all? Or
Yeah, there was 7 of us.
Okay, there's 7
I'm
total.
in the middle of 7 kids. So there were 6 of us are stair-stepping in age. And then he's the baby.
Are you close to any of the others?
Yeah, we're close.
It's like regular.
Yeah, he's a Yeah, it was right. Yeah.
But y'all got
all my
something
sisters.
special.
You know, I love all my sisters.
All my yes.
And my brothers. But I'm saying, but we.
Yes.
So you are in touch with your other siblings?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, we're cutting anybody
I
out.
think because we sing.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
We just kind of have the same kind of lifestyle, so to speak.
Yeah.
We connected.
And 5 out of 7 of us sang. 2 are with the Lord now, but 5 out of 7. So we're the ones that were blessed to do it full time. So.
No, wait, before we go any further, give me a little bit of your mother.
Oh my word.
She can imitate her mother. This is her mother.
If my mother would hear, she would say,
Oh, he's sad.
she said, Mark. And she would have to do a Mark, Andrew, I love you. I'm praying for you.
That's spot on.
And
Spot
now
on.
I'm meeting in heaven the Mary of the Mary. Did you know that she wrote, I know her now? So that's what my mom, seriously,
Is that great?
if you were to meet my mom, that was her voice. That was her voice.
I met her. I know her.
Is she here?
No, she's with
she's
the
in
Lord.
heaven.
She's with
Okay.
the Lord. That's
Her spirit is here.
And she was
yes.
mom was so funny because of course she's proud of all of us, everything. But she somehow got wind that the Chick-fil-A stores, they are familiar with, of course, Newsboys familiar with Gaither, and they kind of give you free stuff sometimes because of that.
My mom
So wait.
I love free stuff.
Wait, Mark. This is the best one. Okay, but one of the
I'm
best
with Gaither sometimes.
I know. So
I never got
don't
a
go
free
into
sandwich.
Chick-fil-A and get, because some of the people, they kind of know. So okay.
Yeah.
So my mom lived with us in Kansas City a couple few years before she passed. So we're in the drive-through at Chick-fil-A and we're ordering, and it's only about $11. That's it. And so we get up to the window, and the lady said that'll be $11. Before the lady got it out really good, my mother said, "My daughter sings with the Gaithers, and my son is with Michael with Newsboys." And I got I said, "Mom, we've got $11. We can pay." Yeah, she was looking for the free food.
And the lady should have said, "Well, then you can afford
Yeah,
it."
that's what I told her. I said, we can afford this.
Yeah,
So
my mom was a hustler.
Yeah.
That lady, sweetie pie, but she wanted
she's
something.
sweet.
What's
And
that?
she loved you too, Mark.
She
my
loved
mother. I'm not just saying that.
her.
She adored.
I loved her.
Adored Mark.
She adored you.
Yeah, you can
I like
have.
it.
I love this. Now that's a first.
Yeah, that is a first.
I love that someone's
I wonder if
actually
there was
loving our food. That's the first time anybody's ever loved this food.
Yeah, that's your
No, I'm
eating.
kidding.
We have to encourage you. The
What is
sibling
the point of this? Let's get into this.
That's good food.
No, but I mean the sibling. What's your point?
sibling dynamics. I'm interested about sibling rivalry because I think it's like, and I was even talking to my dad just last night about. I have 2 older brothers. Okay, we're separated by about 10 years total,
Okay,
so we're split up a little bit. And I was talking to my dad. We're very all close to our parents, and my brothers at times are going through things. At times I'm going through things, and we talked to our parents about that some. But I don't remember any specific rivalry necessarily. But we didn't pick similar professions. We weren't interested in the same things. So was that ever a thing with you guys where it was there was ever any kind of tension of
Well, true story. When Lynda was at Liberty,
Tell the truth.
Liberty University.
Liberty, there's a Liberty.
Liberty.
Remember when Toby Mack called the house to talk to you one time, and he had never heard Dad's voice on the phone? And he said, yeah, Mr. Tait is Mike Tait. Toby's like, who is? I said, that's my dad talking. He couldn't understand. And he said, what did your dad say?
Was there a the in there?
But my dad.
Lynda goes up to Liberty, and I'm still in high school, and I'm like, she's singing and making cassette tapes and the Good Life soundtracks, man, those Good Life soundtracks.
Yes,
Okay?
Good Life.
We all
wow,
sing.
publication.
And the studio series, they were the best, by the way. But so Lynda goes to Liberty, and I was, for some reason, I was just jealous. I was like, how come she gets to do this music, gets to make her CD, her own little tape? What about me?
Is that what you thought?
Mark, I should have known. I was like, and she was so sweet.
Like, how old were you?
Teenager?
17,
18.
Okay.
So you had literally told her what about me, or you just thought that?
Well,
No, I thought that.
Yeah.
but you didn't tell me, like, you didn't tell me that till
But you
years
never knew it. Till
Right.
a
Christmas, yeah.
few years
Right.
ago. But what's crazy is I was so proud of him. Like, so every chance I got to sing, I took him out with me to sing.
saint.
There was nothing in not even a halfway jealous bone, but
Well,
nothing.
you're older too.
But I know, but
True.
I didn't even, but it never crossed my mind that he would be, because it wasn't like I was coming home going, I sold 100 cassettes tonight. It was nothing like that.
And what's crazy?
But my dad would say, and we was a mess with dad too, because at the end of the day, for my dad, the bottom line
Chubb,
was,
what'd you do?
It
What'd you
was
do, Chubb?
money. My
What'd you do?
nickname was Chubb. He said, after concert, he said,
Chubb,
Chubb, how you
how
make
much
out?
money did you get, Chubb?
So I knew he wasn't asking about salvation. I knew. But see what we would do.
No, but you know my dad was-
But we would make
he's a soul
it up.
winner.
So he said, Chubb, how you make out? And I said, Daddy, I said, tonight 5 people came to know the Lord. And then it got him riled up a little bit. And then he would ask, and he said, and I finally got him to say, he said, Chubb, how'd your tape sales go? I said, Daddy, we sold a lot of tapes. And sometimes Mike
But he
would
was
hear
sad
those
about that because Dad would
conversations.
think,
Yeah.
okay, bigger offering time now. Let us have more money.
Yeah.
Give to the ministry.
Yeah,
Nate
because
Tate.
he was a missionary in the inner
Yeah.
city, and he lived on the support of people in his cab, and so we got to bless he and my mom in so many ways. My mom worked a government job, but it was funny because he was, Chubb, how you make out, baby? and then Mark, he would always have, no matter where we went, he would say, he would go with these pastors' meetings, and he said, Chubb, always have a tape on you, always, because you never know. So he was always kind of like an impromptu manager kind of thing,
yeah.
whatever. But it was basically, it was like, how much did you sell? How much you were gonna get? And,
There was never
and
a chance
then
to
one time
sing,
I told him,
sing.
seriously, I told him I sold back then. I said it was like $1,500. And he said, Chubb, you hit the jackpot. I mean, he was so much. You know how happy Dad would give him money and stuff. But yeah.
Well, your genres of music were so different.
Yeah. But now when we started that way,
Yeah.
Living
I
Christmas
started at
Dream.
Liberty, you got me singing forward on our old-time gospel hour.
Yeah, yeah.
So a bit more conservative side.
Yeah.
So I met this guy named Toby Mack.
Yeah.
And then we started mixing things up a bit. And then the roads kind of split.
Because you were doing some Leon Patillo.
Yep, Leon
You were
Patillo.
doing.
Wow.
He was doing Larnell
Larnell
Harris.
Harris, right, yep.
And who else? I mean, he had.
I can't remember who
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was-
Wayne Watson, remember Wayne Watson?
Yeah.
Russ Taff.
Yeah.
Hank Bell.
That's right.
Wow.
Probably my favorite.
What is it?
Russ Taff.
Oh, yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
whole Walls record.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
And the
Right.
soul
Yeah.
one is in the
I was
grit.
done.
Yeah.
Did you?
The hands of time go round and round. They don't slow down when you lose your way. At every turn, the things you learn. I love you, Russ.
Love you, Russ.
He is the
Do you
best.
think ever, like, overhearing those conversations, was it like wanting some attention from your dad? Maybe that was a little bit of the jealousy.
No, because you know what? Little did I know that inside, I didn't have the gump to actually do it at the point, but she was doing what I wanted to do. So
I gotcha.
I was like, hold up.
And I never knew
Slow
he
down a
wanted.
bit. Let me catch up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And I never knew he wanted to do it. And he's
Yeah.
doing it in a big way too. I mean, like, it's.
Bottom line
it's-
is that
it's a-
when you're young, you
Yeah.
know, you have emotions everywhere, and don't you think?
But when he
sweetheart.
told me how jealous he was, it shocked me.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking all this time.
I didn't
he
tell the
was
whole
so-
story either. I had thoughts of one.
What?
Just you know what? But you know what?
I never
Anyway,
did. Come here.
I love you.
I never did.
That's
But
sweet.
yeah, and I'm so like, it's funny. People ask me now, aren't you proud of your brother? And I said, well, I was always proud of my brother. I don't like when they equate me being proud because of
His success.
the success or something. I go,
Yeah.
I was always proud. Yeah, I'm proud. That's great. But that's not what our relationship is based on. And when
Thank
we
the
get
Lord.
to sing together, like we're gonna do some Christmas stuff, and which is fun, and,
That's
and,
gonna
and
be
it's pretty exciting. But so I'm not wanting to hang out, because he's doing Newsboys and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm on the Gaither side too, and we've got a blessed following as well. So it's just because we're siblings, we're close, and we just make beautiful
And she gets free
music.
tickets to all my shows.
You
Front
know
row.
what? You know what?
Yeah, I give her backstage pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Backstage. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay.
I treat her good.
Dinner Conversations is brought to you by Child Fund, a community development organization that has been envisioning a world where every child is free to live at their fullest potential, no matter where they're from or what challenges they face. And they've been doing this since 1938. Child Fund's mission is to help bring positive and lasting change to communities around the world by removing the barriers that keep children from realizing and reaching their dreams.
Worldwide, over 570 million children are living in extreme poverty. For too many families, access to health care is a luxury, and opportunities for education and employment are extremely limited, forcing parents to often make choices that hinder rather than promote their children's futures. Child Fund's community development programs address these issues so that children around the world don't just have to survive, they can truly thrive.
Today, it is the support from sponsors like you that allows Child Fund to focus on the children and build lasting relationships with the communities like the ones we visited in Guatemala. Child Fund strives to help provide communities with critical necessities, including education, clean drinking water, food and nutrition, basic health care and hygiene, and helping children and parents alike know and understand their basic human rights.
We believe every one of us have been created unique with value, on purpose, and in love by God. We have been created in the image of God. The children we met in Guatemala are image bearers of our Creator. Think about that.
Yeah.
And I believe to love God best, we must learn to love our neighbors even better. Our neighbors like these children in Guatemala. Child Fund is giving us that unique opportunity, all of us, you guys and us, to serve God by loving these children through sponsoring a child today.
Perhaps you already sponsor a child. Would you consider sponsoring another child in Guatemala? Maybe honor one of your children, a new grandchild, a special niece or nephew. These kids are real kids with real dreams, just like the dreams of your kids and grandkids. We know because we met them. Kids that want to be doctors and lawyers and teachers and musicians, just like us.
Your child sponsorship of $36 a month will immediately link you with the child that you can write letters back and forth with, correspond, send pictures of you and your family, even potentially visit one day.
It really does take so little to make a big difference. Visit childfund.org/dinner conversations. A child is waiting. As a small way to say thanks for your child's sponsorship, we will send you an autographed Season 2 DVD and Songs from the Set CD.
Yes, plus a special item made just for you by the communities in Guatemala.
And every sponsor and a guest is invited to a Dinner Conversations Friends and Family Weekend in Nashville.
Hey now, which includes meal times with Mark and me, private little concerts and chit chats with our friends, and a special Sunday morning service that will happen right before you head out of town.
And if you sponsor more than one child, you will have the opportunity to be a guest on an actual episode of Dinner Conversations during the Friends and Family Weekend in Nashville.
Does it get better than that?
No.
Does it, Mark? Does it? Stay tuned for exact details, and don't forget to visit childfund.org/dinner conversations to sponsor your child today.
At last ended my Savior bleed, and did my sovereign die. Would he devote that sacred head for such a word as I?
Come on now.
At the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burdens of my heart rolled away. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day. Oh, at the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burdens of my heart, they rolled away.
Yeah, we grew up right there. Like, you know what? We used to shout, dance. Okay, that's good.
What would you tell parents? How can you foster that your kids will like each other?
I think I don't have kids, but I was just watching my nieces and nephews grow up and
trying to get them a wife
and raise some of them with Lynda. Kids obviously watch their parents, whether they do good or bad or whatever. So using Lynda and Mike as an example, Lynda and Mike Randle, their two daughters, Joy and Patience, appropriately named. Joy and Patience.
Joy.
They are besties because they watched mom and dad love each other, and I think that love example goes around. It's reciprocal, and the
I
kids
think
watch
the
that.
parent example of the parents loving one another.
And plus, you are not supposed to, and we just never did this with our kids, like pit them against each other and say, why can't you be like your sister? Why can't you be like your brother? Because there was an article that came out in Kansas City about patience, and it was just great in the newspaper, whatever. And we were sharing it with somebody, and Joy was in the room, and they said, so how? And they said, well, now what are you going to do? And I said, no, we don't do that with our kids.
Yeah, right.
Joy is brilliant. God's gifted her in ways He hasn't gifted Pay. They're best friends, and we this is what we don't do.
They celebrate each kid to be celebrated by their peers, by their parents, without it feeling like, I didn't do something just because I'm not being celebrated.
Absolutely, and they're
But I think if mom and dad celebrate the kid, if Lynda just celebrated Patience or Joy on the other, that was like a major lack. Like, what's going on? Am I? Mincemeat? What am I?
And you see that in sibling groups occasionally. I've seen sibling groups of friends where it's like they do kind of obviously favor one, and the favoritism doesn't come out verbally, but you look at the tension, even the way they provide for one child over the other. Maybe that one is aspiring to something that one parent understands. So I would think as a parent, you have to pay attention to your kids.
Absolutely. And I heard Chuck Swindoll say years ago one that says, train up a child in the way he should go, not the way you think they should go, but the child's bent. So you kind of know after 3, 4, 5, Patience, I knew Patience, like we always would watch these little VeggieTale videos and things like that. And I said, this girl really likes film. She ended up getting her degree in filmmaking and everything. It's great. And you just kind of, you kind of foster that and encourage that. You just find their bent, not train them up in the way you think they should go.
Exactly.
That's kind of what we tried. That's kind of what we tried.
Preach, Chubb. How did you get the name Chubb?
Well, because my bell bottoms did not flare on me because I was so chubby.
Skinny jeans in the first generation.
Yes.
When Lynda was young, she had these.
Oh my God, that's funny.
She had these cherubim cheeks. She's a little.
I was a little chunker, and I'll never be skinny. I'm not trying, so my nickname's Chubb, and I love it.
In the black world, we call you what you are. If you're skinny, we call you slim. If you're fat, we call you.
If you're fat, do you actually use that word, Mike? You have to be politically on.
If you're large on PC. If you're large, I can't hardly talk anymore.
I know,
but I'm serious.
Like Fats Domino.
I know.
Or if you're small, what's up, shorty?
What's chubby checker?
But is that as offensive? Like, do you feel like,
and I don't know.
because it's kind of nicknamey.
Yeah, but it's like you don't think of it that much.
I love it.
That's
My dad says,
baby, if you don't mean it, don't sing it.
I'll never forget that.
Oh, I love that. It's the truth.
Yeah, he would tell me that.
If you don't mean it, don't sing.
You know how we used to play church? We used to play
My
church,
dad
and we grew up in a
hated that,
Pentecostal church when we first started, and they would be preaching, and my dad would be sweating and hand behind the ear, and they would be squealing, and people.
The Bible said, God,
and they
glory.
So I had to
come to me, all you that are heavy laden down, get the rest. Take my yoke upon learn.
Is that the way he preached?
Well, that's where we started. That way we call it hooping.
Yeah.
Hooping?
It's called hooping.
So it's actually called something.
Okay, so here's the thing. So for all of the friends of color that are watching, to be respectful of our culture, that is the way we were taught as we were, growing up. It's all the way back through slavery time, the way we expressed ourselves, and it's kind of a sing song. It's rhythm. It's chant. It's call and response. And so I said that's why the black churches go on so long, because we talking to the preacher. Preach it, pastor, tell a story. But it was a hoop. It was a hoop, and my dad started out hooping, and then of course somewhere along the way, he realized that not saying people that are hooping are not teaching, because sometimes they are. But my dad realized it was just a lot
He could
of
teach
hoop.
without the hoop.
He could teach without the hoop. So it just became a lot of noise.
More authentic
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah, and
to
so he
just
started learning,
be
you know,
himself.
more Bible
I love
and
that.
teaching.
Don't sing it if you don't
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
it.
Said,
Boy,
"Don't-
that's
yeah,
a great
yeah."
quote.
Let's talk about your dad, Nate Tait,
yeah.
right?
Nate Tait,
Nate Tait,
Reverend
yeah.
Nate Tait.
Oh,
It's
Reverend
like a
Nate
cartoon name.
Yeah, I love that.
Reverend Nate Tait.
So growing up preachers' kids, which there are a lot of people who grew up PKs. I mean, I don't know if that was a term.
I know,
used
we're
or
the worst
whatever.
ones ever.
Yeah, I know.
You don't know the story.
Yeah, it's right here in front of us. But when I think about preachers' kids, I think about, okay, there is an added element of expectation or weight, whether your dad put it on you, whether the church put it on you, whether whoever put it, you may put it on yourself,
Yeah.
right? So did you feel that weight, number one? And then number two, like, how did that shape your faith, positively or negatively? Because you're still people of faith, so it didn't turn you away.
Right.
One quick funny story, next door neighbor. We had a next door neighbor.
Miss Janie Payne.
Her name was Janie Payne. And when mom and dad were gone from the house, she took it upon herself to be the neighborhood police, kind of, of the Tait family. Thank you, honey.
Eat your
some more
vegetables.
some more meat.
Oh, I made a mess.
So Janie Payne would watch us play or do what else we're doing, and every little tit and toddle, she would cock her
Yeah,
little
she would
brain.
tell Mr. Tait, yo, kids.
Your daughter, you know what Michael did when you were gone? Right when you drove off in that cab, you know what Michael did? Mm-hmm. Mark, I was like, I'm gonna choke her. But that kind of pressure, because you know, preachers' kids, other kids didn't want to do.
So she was watching y'all
all the time.
particularly.
And we had the brownstone
You're
home.
12 years old, of course you're gonna be ornery. You're
Right.
12.
Yeah.
She could hang out at her window, like her bedroom window, and it's next to our bedroom.
We have, like,
window,
brownstones just next to
Brownstones.
it.
It was crazy. It was insane. And she'd always tell on us, but you do feel, it was pressure because our church was right next door to our home.
Yeah.
So we
That
were
was
there
tough.
all the time. We had, let's start with like Friday night service. We had Saturday choir rehearsal. We had 3 services on Sunday, 3.
Oh,
We'd do
my
the
gosh.
Sunday morning, of course, the Sunday school, and then we'd go down for like a lunch or something. We'd have a musical. We'd have these quartets to come. Then we had Wednesday night, Wednesday afternoon, it was a prayer time, Wednesday afternoon, and then Wednesday night Bible study. So we were in church all the time. And to the point where there are a lot of things that have affected me, but it's not saying it's negative, but I thought if I missed church, like it's done, it's over, God's gonna be mad, because we had to go to church all the time. And I just realized that God is not just sitting up, hanging up there, like, when are you
not
going?
counting, they give you gold
and
stars
strike
for
the
the Sunday you
gold
go to church.
stars, and it's just not about physically
It's a good
going,
thing to do.
which is great.
Right.
But that kind of messed with my psyche a little bit. And my husband, as we were traveling sometimes I didn't go to church. He said, "Baby, you gotta get off of this. If I'm not in church," which we do go to church a lot. He's a pastor.
Yeah.
But that's something for me that if you missed at all, then I felt like it was a brownie point, not a brownie. It's mark against me.
Let me say,
the impact
I felt, you mentioned the impact. The
Yeah.
impact I felt for my dad's lifestyle and mom's lifestyle, I felt years after. Because I think when you're Bible thunked, you're in school, you go to Christian high school, junior high school, you go to Christian college, you join a band called DC Talk, you're always in church situations or Christian situations. It's like, you kind of just take for granted, I'm serving you God because I'm working for you, so I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
What now?
I'm serving you God because I'm working for you, so I'm good.
for you, so I'm serving.
Also,
Yeah.
Chamber talks about, he says it's an insult to, I paraphrase, like, to work for God and not know him. God wants you to sit still and just be. We're called human beings, not human doing, so to speak. What's just to be? And I realized as I got older, my dad had a lot of good words to say, and they come back to you. You think you forget about them, or think they go away. They're in your brain.
Yeah.
They lie dormant inside your brain.
Right.
And then life comes along, and all of a sudden you go, "Well, Dad said this. Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Oh, walk a mile in his shoes. Now talk."
Right.
So it came full circle to
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
your
absolutely.
dad.
Sometimes they hit me like a freight train.
And we had family devotions around the table every single night. If my dad wasn't there, he was in his cab, my mom would do it. So we'd just sit around the table and we would read the Psalms and the Proverbs, and we had to learn, when I say we had to learn Bible verses, we did have to. And I'm not mad about that.
Yeah.
It sounds magical a little bit to me, too.
Yeah.
It may have been.
But in our community, just the fact that our family was together, like the mom and dad was there.
Yeah, what an example.
That was pretty. That was
But I
pretty
mean,
amazing.
I know it sounds kind of horrible on one side to think you're right next to your church, which means your people were there all the time.
Yeah, and
There's no lie.
looking at my mother's pots. What you got cooking, Mama Tait? Yeah, all the
But
time.
yet, on the other hand,
Yeah.
what a cool childhood, kind of.
Yeah.
Because our house was like that, a lot of activity.
Yes.
And then when you're a kid, it's kind of magical when you look back on it.
And I remember some of the saints of old. In our church, we had the mothers of the church, like some of the older
missionaries in the front row.
The missionaries, and they would
They
wear
were
their
missionaries.
wives
Oh,
and
I
stuff.
love
And,
that.
and,
See,
and,
we didn't have
and,
that.
and we
little
had.
water jugs.
What was their job?
Well, their job, they were praying.
Pour water.
Also, they were praying and they were covering us as a body. And one night, a guy came in and he was robbing our church. He came in with a gun. And I'll never forget this missionary Carter. You remember missionary Carter?
Linda.
She had this old black patent leather purse. I'll never forget it. Probably not a dime in it, if a dime was in
Probably
it,
some
right?
old knack was
and the guy had the gun and I remember before I crawled under the pews to crawl down the back stairs of the church to go to our house to call the police.
Oh my.
And one of the other ladies, Sister Johnson, she's still alive. I love you, sweetheart. But she stood up and said, "Don't shoot the pastor." That's the first thing she said, hands outstretched, "Don't shoot the pastor." So the guy with the gun was tussling with missionary Carter. Now, you talking about hindsight, looking back, who would do that now? But her faith, you can call it foolishness or faith. She's one of those old praying mamas, like, you can shoot me, you can kill me, you're not getting this person. We're in the house of God. You don't do this. This was years, Mark, this was years. This is like over 40 plus years ago. And they don't make saints too much like that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
So what happened?
Yeah, well, no, the police came and got the guy. There was no
know
gun
got
for
that purse?
I don't know. There was no.
I thought there was a purse story behind
She
all
pulled the
this.
gun out of her purse.
No,
I thought she did.
today.
But I'm just saying because I
Not
remember,
today, Satan.
I remember some of those, with some of our old saints with the little black patent.
Yeah,
purse, some of them. But she didn't do anything
So
with the
did
purse.
everybody, did it turn out all right?
Turned out great.
Good.
The police got it, but no, she was just like, "You're not getting it." There was nothing
Do you
in
see
it.
the
but
orphan plate? I can't remember if he stole the orphan. Did he steal the orphan?
I don't even know.
This book right here, Linda, The Cab Driver's Daughter, which I
Yeah,
love. So
yeah.
this is you,
Yes.
right? And this is Nate Tait,
Yes.
Reverend
Yes.
Nate Tait. So
Bishop. I'm kidding.
Bishop.
I'm teasing.
Elder, president.
Yes.
Your dad had some significant experiences
Yeah.
living in DC.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was from being pastor and cab driver or just cab driver or whatever, with some interesting racism, poignant
Yes.
and pointed racism,
It goes
oppression, racial
way
oppression.
back. He's from Alabama. Born and
Really?
raised in Alabama.
He never taught us how to hate.
And
Taught us how to love.
yeah, but when we do these, I try not to we're not the only two that have been touched with these stories. But
there are some.
But
All
we.
of us have.
But it's your story.
But it's my story, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I do try to tell it in the light of other people watching, and it's not like we're something special in that regard. But we've had my dad. They've had their struggles with racism, and my mom, and different stories. And even when we attended Liberty University, I had my struggles. I mean, somebody didn't rent me an apartment because I was black. And on the phone, the lady says to me, when I was asking about the apartment, she said, "May I ask what your nationality is?" I said, "Excuse me."
Over the phone.
And she said, "Over the phone."
Thanks
And
a
I
lot,
said-
Lynchburg.
And
Wow.
I said, "Well, I'm
Lynchburg.
black." And I said, "I'm Negroid." And she says, "Well, I can't rent you this apartment."
You
And
said
I was
Negroid?
like, "Yeah, that's Negroid. That's the proper name."
Negroid.
Yeah,
Never knew that.
Negroid.
Did you
Yeah.
know, what year was that?
This was the 80s.
In the 80s.
Yes, this is, yeah.
And then one of the I sang with a white girl at Liberty and a white guy, and we would tour around a little bit.
Oh, let me tell you the story.
And we went to
It's one church.
and
And the guy
something
said,
with-
the guy said, no tracks.
Oh, no, not this.
No,
No, that's
slacks.
no,
no
no.
blacks.
Oh, that's him trying to tell.
No,
That's not the same story.
Not the same story.
That's
Look,
a fall.
that was a
that's
fall.
fall
like a
story.
married couple.
Guys, that was a formal story because
He's starting to tell my story.
no.
That wasn't it.
A sister story, but that's back
No, I
thing on
heard
race
that,
stuff. Yeah.
right, that Jerry Falwell had gone out with some of the light singers of one of the groups,
Back
and they
in the
had
day.
one of their first black people on the praise team or whatever.
Okay.
And they got to a church, and the guy
They
came
saw the little
on the
chocolate
bus,
guy.
and they went to Dr. Falwell because they weren't into soundtracks. They remember soundtracks were of the devil back then too.
Right.
So they looked at Jerry Falwell and they said, "No tracks, no slacks, and no blacks."
You know what Jerry did?
And I forget what he said.
Kept
He
him
had
on the bus
another
and drove
rhyme, and
off.
he
Really?
came back with a rhyme, and he went off. But the story,
Do we know that? Now back to your story.
yeah, but
Let's hear I want to hear this
but
one.
so we were singing, and then something didn't work out with our hotel situation.
Right.
So the guy, my friend David, I won't say his last name, David, he drives up to his grandma's home in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. and we pull in the driveway and we need the place to stay. And she looked down that driveway and saw me in the car and she said, "Get that in out of my yard." I sat in that car and tears just streamed down my face. And we ended up, because we were breaking the rules at Liberty, we couldn't stay in the same hotel room because we were, melting. We ended up going to a hotel. We had the same room. We took a lamp, put it in between the bed. I'm not kidding. We were like, we got to sleep in the same bed. Seriously. Because we had nowhere to stay and we couldn't drive back that night. But it doesn't make you, it's allowed me to build more bridges because ignorance, people will say a lot of stuff.
Well, and how did your peers react in that scenario?
They
were hurt for you?
They were disappointed. He didn't even know his grandmother was that way.
Because I got threatened in Tracy, Tennessee, about 10 years ago. A guy was going to hang me. Yeah, in a little country store.
Gonna hang you?
He goes, "Boys, getting dark." I was like, "We hang you around here."
Wow.
I got my car.
10 years ago?
To my wife, I got back in my car and I started crying too. I'm thinking, imagine what our forefathers went through.
Yeah.
I mean, just here we are, successful people, blessed, saved, heaven bound. And that one word in my life, that one little negative little.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, why is it so powerful? Why can't, like you said, here I am. I don't have anything to prove.
Yeah.
I don't have any need from this individual who's been disrespectful to me. But why does that still hurt us?
You know what? People crave love. We all want to be loved. We want to match each other. You know, we have things.
We want to be together.
You want to enjoy people. You want to start relationships, And when this is in line, this is in line. When the vertical works, the horizontal works. But something Dad used to always say, my dad said, he'd always say, "Son, colors don't hate. People do." He said, we are God's bouquet. The beauty of the human race is found in the diversity of the human race.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can celebrate each other, but we can't do it. I think we were all green. Be like, "Well, you're dark green. Well, I'm light green.
Yeah.
You're medium green."
Yeah.
We find something to argue about.
Yeah.
I mean, in Ireland, it's Christianity and, Protestants and Catholics,
Sure.
And one of the big myths that people, they go around and say that God's colorblind.
Yeah.
And I said, no,
He ain't
he's not
colorblind.
colorblind.
He couldn't have invented the rainbow.
Yeah, right. So why? And some people, I've had people say, "I don't see you as black." I go, "Well, I am. Is that a problem?" Because I am.
Brown.
You're right. No, we're brown. Right.
Yeah.
But people, I think that's a way to handle that. People don't know how to deal in certain ways, and so they just feel like if they could just dismiss,
and dismiss by categories.
Yeah.
I have sponsored children for as long as I can remember, and I love doing it. I've never had a child, and it's the best way for a single person to have a child. Sponsor them. You're not really responsible, but you help. And I like that. I've got 5 right now I'm sponsoring with Child Fund, and I couldn't be happier. I love these kids, and I'm glad I can help, but I'm glad they're not really mine. So go to childfund.org/dinner conversations and sponsor your child you don't have to really invest that much into. Can you imagine if you only had to spend $36 a month on the ones you birthed? This is a deal. To learn more about Dinner Conversations, visit dinner-conversations.com.
And while you're there, check out some of our friendly merch. We've got show mugs and season 1 and 2 DVDs. And we got these little note cards so Mark can write me a note that says, "You're the best co-host
Oh,
ever."
yes. Well, you get that after every episode. And what about this mug with our faces on it?
What says good morning better?
It's like we're on both sides, so now lefty or a righty, you get to see us every morning.
I think it's time we get back to those guests.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so Mr. John Reddick, we first met in Aspen, Colorado. We got to sit down and have a conversation. I remember thinking, we had not really ever talked before we talked on camera. And I remember thinking and being impressed as I walked away by how articulate you are, not just about spiritual conversations, but the way our spirituality interacts in very real day-to-day matters and conversations. And so as Mark and I, for the show, we're having this kind of larger conversation with Michael, Tait, and Lynda Randle, who you know. I was texting with Lynda after that, and you came up over and over, and we had just met. And so I'm grateful to have another opportunity to hear from your mind and your heart on these matters. But for our audience who's being introduced to you, some of them, take me back to growing up, because you basically grew up in the church.
Yes.
I mean, you grew up in the church.
In the church. Yeah.
Son of a preacher man, right?
Yeah, my father, and he's still ministering and everything like that. So my father would always preach, and my mom would always play, and I'd be in the choir.
Would you play as a response to his preaching? You know what I mean?
Oh, let me see. Well, it wasn't set up like that. Well, maybe. I can't remember actually, but
maybe that's just a
but I just remember my dad was preaching, my mom was playing the piano, and my sister and I would be in the choir, and so all through childhood, that was life.
And you grew up in Memphis. And I was in Memphis just a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah, for the first time went to the Lorraine Motel, which of course is the site where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And really a lot of people would consider that the apex and the climax of the energy of the civil rights movement, at least in America, and the racial tension and strife, which of course has been a part of our culture here in America for hundreds of years, not just the last several decades. As I was listening and reading a lot of the recallings of the conflict that led up to his death, even in his last speech, right? But that mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Yeah. Why do you think there is so much spiritual energy? Why do you think the conversation around racial, again, both division, both the negative and the positive reconciliation, is such a spiritual conversation, and even more specifically, like a Christian conversation?
I think part of it is that if the problems of racism or the difficulties that we face will be healed, I think that the church is at the foundation of a lot of that. And so I think it's automatically something that God has his hand on in order to heal us, and it's used in different ways. I
mean, you are embedded into music. Music is embedded into you, you know, throughout your history. Not only are you now a go-to record singer, songwriter, artist, but you've been a musical director for other artists on the road for years and been a part of the church, like you're talking about, since you were a child. And we're sitting here at Church of the City, which is based out of Nashville, you know, where you lead many weekends when you are home. What is it about music for you that extends the grace to actually be with others, think about others, change and shift your perspectives about things or people you don't understand?
Well, I used to, when I first started, I would pray this prayer, and it would always be, God, help me to hear the cries of your people. Like, I just want to be able to hear in some kind of way, just help me to hear the cries, or now it's the stories, you know, of your people, because I think that's where you're broken, and like you get broken into a way where you're really trying to understand.
Well, in our pain is also our common denominator as people. It's kind of like it's the level floor that we all find ourselves eventually, and then exist out of in our surrender to God and our positioning.
It's a journey. I think one of the key things is for us to just keep getting people in the room. Not to just get them in the room just for their presence, but to also hear the stories. So I think the more we keep being consistent about getting people in the room, getting to hear their stories, then we start getting more understanding of how we can even get together and make this thing mesh or build off of it, versus fear. I mean, I think that's what is at the basis of all of what we're talking about. Fear, you know. Fears that connect us to the things that we don't know. But fear is about what we don't know.
Or don't understand. Yeah, it's a control thing, ultimately, fear is, right? How do we place that? What do we do with that fear so that we can? I don't think that we're supposed to wait until heaven, the other side of life, to like get it all together in the sense of loving one another. So what can, from your perspective, your experiences, all that we've talked about, what do you think we can do?
Number one is hearing stories. For me, it's the sympathy that's learned or gained in hearing the story. when you hear things that other people are going through, or when you hear things that people are afraid of thinking, or when you hear, there's so many aspects of this topic that we're talking about, where so many people find themselves in so many different places, and it's emotional pain, like you say, for them. So the other thing is to educate ourselves on what has happened in the past, or what may be happening currently, and allowing ourselves to know that for whatever reason, that is their person's truth, you know? And I think also is when all else fails, this is a journey that we're traveling on, you know, and it's a hard journey. It's a difficult one. I mean, there's beauty in it, right? At the surface level, people jump into diversity and like, man, this is great. I love this. Like, and then there's that one comment. They're like, oh, wait, you just touched on all this stuff. And the funny thing about it is, it'll tap on things that we didn't even know that we were harboring inside. You know?
100%.
Wow,
yeah.
man, it's
I mean, I've
crazy.
experienced that.
It's crazy, and so it's the desire to get in it with each other. It's being vulnerable in those times and reminding ourselves that this is a journey that all of us are on, and probably in different places. But I do believe that we'll look back and realize we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be.
It's interesting. I think the biases that we have against others, usually I've experienced in my own life, comes out of my own insecurity about myself. And my own insecurities come out of my inability to believe that I am who God is saying I am, which brings us back to the spiritual experience, why it's so important to come together, to worship together, to press in together, because I think it's a way of surrendering my perspective of myself.
Right.
Back to how God sees me. And if I believe I am who God says I am, then I think I'm more readily open, even though we're different and I don't understand everything about you and you don't understand everything about me. I'm more open to God sees you the same way.
Yeah.
And then you become a beautiful person, not someone who's just strikingly different.
Right.
Although the difference is the beauty too.
Yeah, I know.
Like you said, we got to jump into it.
No, you're right. I think there's also value in when one of the things we find when we're educating ourselves is we find out about what shared power does, right? We find out about what it means to celebrate differences, not just acknowledge differences. We find out what it means to make people a part instead of making people a beautiful other. Because making people other is still making people something else than, you know, and if people are already feeling like they are not a part of what is not less than, people are already feeling like that, then we perpetuate the situation. And I do want to, for a second, one of the things I said is we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be. I think that's a very sensitive topic, because when you hear those stories from different people, the needle may barely be moving for some. You know, in 60 years, I've talked to people who said they can play clips from Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, and it feel like it was a news clip from today. So, and then you talk to people who feel progression and who've walked in some progressive things. So it's like, I think that's it's here in the story.
Sure, it's here in the story, and it's honoring the story, and it's honoring the perspective, not to say, well, haven't we gotten over that to someone, but to say, okay, to hear how it has played out in their story, even though it's not playing out in my story in the same way. And I got to bring it back to music. I just think if we sing together, I mean? Some people still aren't ready to hear someone's story.
Right.
But within the context of music, there's a massaging of our heart. There's a softening. I really believe that. And you see it. I mean, you see it week to week. What have you learned about God by seeing so many thousands of people worship? And so many people from so many different walks of life, even when they don't look that different, we know that we're all extremely unique. What has that taught you, or what have you felt like you've learned about God because of being in that leadership role?
One of the things I've learned is that he knew what he was doing when he placed music as a part of our lives. And I think music is one of those things that in this whole situation, it's music, sports, and war. Like, if you want to ask somebody what brings us together.
Do not discriminate.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like Newton's law, where he's like, if fear is going this way, an equal and opposite reaction is what will stop it. So music, the opposite thing of the fear, it brings it. War is just a bigger fear. So now we're all afraid of that. Sports, we're having fun. So but music, what it's taught me is that God does hear us and see us. And even though he doesn't always come through when we're wanting him to come through, it's not on our time, right? There is something that he's doing, and there is something that he's working on. And I'm crazy enough to believe that he uses the things that are hard. He allows the things that are hard to shape us to be better, to shape us in some kind of way to be better, whether it's to lose pride or to overcome fear or to, whatever all the different things may be. He's shaping us by allowing these things to help shape us. And music is the place, I said it earlier, it's the place where we lay down all of our crowns. It's the place where we're most vulnerable. At least we're most
open?
We're most open to being vulnerable. We're more open when there's music going on, and because it hits us in different places. So.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It's interesting too. I remember one time someone on, somewhere on some platform or maybe over the radio said something about, and then God showed up or something, and I was with my dad. That's when I was growing up. And he's like, I don't like that. I said, what don't you like about that? He said, God doesn't show up, we show up, or more is revealed to us, or more, is taken out of the way. Like God, like it's what you're saying. God is always working. He's always at play. Yeah. It's where is our posture, and music is allowing us the posture, I think, to open. It's not just an openness of heart. That openness of heart is the eyes to see, what I'm saying. So if you think about it, what a privilege that music is a part of your story, and that is helping thread for so many thousands of people their story to God.
Yeah.
So it's our privilege to be. Yeah, it's your privilege and it's our privilege.
It's our privilege.
To be a part of that. No, yeah. What a great ending.
Well, I think the best thing a child can do when their parents are racist is marry.
Mark?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You talk about
Success is the best
trust me, you have beautiful babies.
Seth, we still get your mom
mix
crazy.
the cream in that black, you come up with gorgeous people.
Seth and
It is.
I think God did it on purpose.
Yeah, but
I think God did that on purpose.
Yeah.
They mix. It's like
I
Yes.
think God loves diversity. He loves it.
Yes,
He
absolutely.
isn't.
Yeah.
And this isn't
He created it.
accurate maybe or something, but then you think about children have so many races involved in their makeup.
Yeah.
That
We all do.
aren't they even, like, isn't it even more direct reflection of God somehow?
Yeah,
because he's reflecting all this diversity instead of just being lily white or, I don't know. I mean,
and none of us, we're all, same source. It's not nobody's 100%
We all
anything.
bleed red.
Yeah, and that's what. But I think what you guys are doing too, the conversations. I did something a few years ago. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was like a little video I had, and basically inviting people to your dinner table that don't look like you. Start conversations. And so many people, they just talk a lot of smack, but they have never sat down with anybody that doesn't look like them, just act like, and that's kind of where it starts. And because, they're ignorant a lot of, as far as building bridges, they don't understand. And so it's kind of like, the opportunity that we have, what you're doing this is where I think the healing begins.
The dinner conversations we did with Nicole Simo. I called you after that and said, I learned so much.
I know.
It was like, that's why I love this.
Yes.
Because I had not heard so much what she taught me that day about racism in the church.
Yes.
And the truth is, too, Mark, we're such creatures of comfort. You automatically, not because, I'll give you an example. I was at Liberty. A lot of my black friends would go sit with the black kids in chapel.
Should I break into the story? Tell mine.
And I would go. No. And I would go.
What I would do was
and I would go sit with my other buddies. They would think, okay, what's up with that? But I get it. That's some other words. You feel comfortable. They're not they want race. But the point is,
familiar.
The point is, if we're gonna ever come together, we said all the time, you're gonna have to consciously.
Yeah. It's intentional.
On purpose.
On purpose.
Yes.
Walk outside that little comfort box. And everybody looks like you, walks like you, talk like you, smell like you, eats like you, lives where you live. And go over here and go, oh, no way. So there's that too? Yeah. There's cheese pizza and pepperoni and meat lovers and veggie?
Like my dad.
No way. All those things?
What was that?
Well, oh, you have cheese pizza your whole life. It's like, oh, cheese is the best thing ever. It's great. I love cheese. If you get a bite of meat lovers, you change your life.
Yeah. I like fish, but anyways.
I love fish.
No, I'm messing fish.
I love sushi.
No. But no, that's true. No, we did the same thing on purpose. When I would go into the cafeteria, what was it? Saga? Was it called?
Saga.
And I would see all of my black friends
America.
over here, all of my white friends over here, and they were all at their own tables.
And I constantly do the black to white table.
I went over and sat at the white
Me
table
too, Jeff.
with those wonderful folk, and it was great.
We love Caucasians.
Well, what was that like? Let me ask you this. That's great. What was that like being...
It's these Caucasians, Negro. It's in the same family.
At that year, those years, y'all were at Liberty when it was predominantly white.
Yes.
You may have been the only black people there.
Might have been.
Well, just
I mean,
few of
not
us.
many.
Yeah.
Except
It was a strong minority at that
Except
point.
the ones they recruited for sports, maybe.
No, true.
Right.
That's very true.
True.
Yeah.
So my question is, what was that like? I mean, as far as I think it would
Horrifying.
be interesting for me to be the only white person in an all African American school.
Good job. We lived a lot.
Good that
We've
you
been that way
say
our
that
lives.
too, because I remember one of the music people there at the time thought that I was moving too much during the Living Christmas Tree. We were singing Amen and Go Tell the Mountain. And they took me to task on. And it just it hurt.
We gyrating.
Oh, I wouldn't do it. No. But Dr. Falwell had told me. Dr. Falwell said, "I want you to sing like you sing at your home church." I'll never forget that. And I looked at him and I said, "I have never sung for this many white folks in all my life. So I don't think I'm gonna be doing what I do at my home church. So it's not gonna happen." But I think that's where I kind of got a conservative edge too. Because that's how we grew up. And I used to actually dance before the Lord at church and physically shout.
Yeah.
We grew up shouting, and I had the tambourine, and we were playing everything. But when we were there at Liberty, somebody just like, no, you move too much. And we had people in my dorm, they didn't know when we said, like, when we do our hair, you can have curly hair, you can have straight hair. And they were like, so when you straighten your hair, do you put it on an ironing board to press it? I mean, the stories,
I didn't know.
the questions that I got asked.
Sure.
But here's the thing, I thought, honestly, if I were gonna be the only black person that some of my white friends would ever encounter or meet.
Be an ambassador.
I want to be an ambassador. I want to be a bridge. And so I wasn't angry with them. We had a lady that helped us in our home once, and she would help us, and we were cleaning, and she stopped in the middle of doing something. And she said, "Now let me ask you something." She said, "Now, white black folks," she said, "if y'all don't like it, why don't you just go back to where you came from?" And she helped us in our home. This is a white woman. And somebody said, "Linda, you just let her say that? You didn't tell her to go home and get out of your house?" I said, "No," because she was honestly asking. And so I just said to her, I said, first of all, it's a long boat ride, and I get
And you were born here.
And I was born here. So I said, I don't want to go back on the boat. But I was teasing, but no, I didn't come on the boat. But no, I said, I said, I was born here, so there's nowhere to go back to.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying to engage her in another conversation. And then she did get to meet someone. She said she was at the gym and met a woman of color, and she started having conversations and started building bridges. And she was so excited, like, I have a black friend now. We've been the only, like I can tell you, right, Facebook, I know I am the only black friend of so many of my followers. And they forget that I'm on there when they start some of these racist remarks. When it gets to politics and stuff, people get kind of crazy. And then I want to just chime in and say, hello, I'm here.
Having a lot of your professional career having been in the Gaither world now, which is a predominantly Caucasian world.
Yes.
Have you ever felt, I'm just curious, this is me being curious.
Okay.
Have you ever felt like the token black person?
No. But, I can't say certainly. No, I've never felt like the token black, because I've always felt loved and everything. But we've had a few things that have happened in this group of people over the years here and there where I start to think a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. So, but yeah, I don't think. But let me just say this. I think
It's a toughie.
Politically, the climate that we're in now. Not that I try to get in this world to pretend I wasn't Black or anything like that. I'm not hiding out at all. But I think the true colors have shown in ways with some of my touring mates.
Peers. Mm-hmm.
And
Because they're aligning themselves so much.
yes, and I'm saying this. I'm a God voter, so I don't want to be like Democrat, Republican. I'm a
Right.
God voter, so whatever that means to you, the viewer, you just take that. But the hateful things that have been said by people that you love and they love you, it's kind of made me feel like, what are they
There's
really
a blindness.
Like,
Confusing.
what do they really think about me? But as far as being a token, no, I'm a bridge builder, and I don't just sing, which is neat. I'm with Gaither, but we sing in mixed circles all around. I'm singing, thank God, all around the world in so many different genres, and I'm not just limited to the Gaither circle,
And
which
as
is
far
the
as
circle.
Gaither himself,
Yeah.
I have seen him make a conscious
Yeah,
effort
he's
to include
He's an
Darnell
influencer, too.
back
Yeah.
in the day.
He said he's gonna be Black.
He wants to have.
Please, that's
he's
all I've
tried
hoped
to
for.
build
Bill
bridges.
gets it. It's just a-
Bill gets it,
I
but-
love
Well,
it.
and you could, I could ask the same question of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in an all.
I've never seen anything like
Otherwise
this
white
political
man.
environment.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like
What's
this.
crazy is Linda's talking about being in black and white settings, but yeah, I've been with white boys, vanilla boys all my all my life, like DC
Yeah.
Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 white guys, a black guy. Newsboys, 3 white guys, a black guy, just 1 extra white guy.
Yeah.
My point is, but I call it living integration because we get to live out loud. It's like you got a black guy fronting a pop rock band, making movies that impact culture.
Yeah.
You get to talk to people, and they can see, oh my gosh, okay, this is more than just da da da. These guys are like Duncan Phillips, one of my best friends on the planet.
Yeah.
Love Toby.
Yeah.
Like Toby back when I started.
It's
out.
like when somebody said one of my best friends is Black. That's not what you said about Duncan.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
Y'all talk so fast.
I know.
My Lord, y'all talk fast.
I know.
My point is,
I know what you said.
I don't think about it that hard anymore,
yeah.
and because to use the millennial terms, haters are going to hate.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah.
and it stinks.
Yeah.
I wish it could be different, but the thing is,
Yeah.
I know I'm called to
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Love. Love.
Love.
Yeah. L-O-V-E.
Yeah.
It's action. It's a
Yeah.
verb still. Love is
Yeah.
a verb.
Thank you to Lynda Randle and Michael Tait.
Be sure and check out some of their product right here in our Amazon affiliate link in the description of this episode.
And if you want to binge watch Dinner Conversations, you can do that right now on Amazon Prime. Dinner Conversations is brought to you by Child Fund, a community development organization that has been envisioning a world where every child is free to live at their fullest potential, no matter where they're from or what challenges they face since 1938.
Partner with us and our good friends at Child Fund to change the world and the life of a child by considering sponsoring a child today.
It really does take so little to make a difference.
Visit childfund.org/dinner conversations.
A child is waiting.